Hello everybody, so this is going to be a little bit of me looking at Scrapy 2.5, a little brief overview of the new features, which aren't many, and then we're going to look at Zyte, Zyte is the new rebranded name of Scrapinghub, Scrapinghub, if you don't know, are the people who make Scrapy, and Scrapy, if you don't know, is a spider or a crawler based upon Twisted Internet Framework, which is a framework for Python. So, without further ado, let's have a look. Okay, so let's look at Scrapy 2.5. It came out, when was that? Just over a week ago. So official Python 3.9 support. So there's new get_retry request to retry requests from spider callbacks. Headers received, signal that allows stopping downloads early, and a new response.protocol attribute. Let's just have a quick look at that and then we'll get back to the HTTP2 support. So, links up with that as well. The protocol that was used to download the response, for instance, HTTP1 or HTTP 1.1, this attribute is currently only populated by the HTTP download handlers. So let's just go back there and look at the main difference. Experimental HTTP2 support. And what does that actually mean? HTTP support is experimental and not yet recommended for production environments. Future Scrapy versions may introduce related changes without a deprecation period of warning. Known limitations of the current HTTP2 implementation of Scrapy include no support for HTTP2 clear text, no setting to specify a maximum frame size larger than the default value. The frame size, let's go to that. The frame size is, here you see in the RFC 16384, and that's the size, that's the maximum size of the payload, which is quite large anyway. No setting to specify a maximum frame size larger. No support for server pushes, which are ignored. Again, server push. HTTP2 allows a server to preemptively send or push responses along with corresponding promised requests to a client in association, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, let's actually just consider what HTTP2 is. And well, let's go to Wikipedia and then we'll read some more elsewhere. So it's a major revision of the HTTP network protocol, and that's no, we'll skip that. Let's find something with a good illustration, and let's have a look at this next result. What it does actually is it allows you to send more than one request over the same TCP connection. And I'll just see if I can find it here. So you've decided to switch to HTTP2. Most browsers support it, and there's a whole list of browsers that support it. It's been with us for over a year now. All major browsers support HTTP2. There's a list of all of the browsers. So yeah, there you go. Is your site optimized for HTTP 1.1? Enable HTTP2 if you're building a new site. And yeah, Scrapy are obviously catching up with HTTP2, and as you can see, it was introduced 5 years ago, so it's nothing to get too excited or too concerned about it at the moment. Anyway, that's in a nutshell. That's the real big difference since 2.4. So not a lot of difference going on, but as we can see, what I thought I'd focus on more is rather these new kind of trends, should we say, in web scraping. And you've obviously got the data extraction, which is what you do first, and you extract the unstructured data, actionable insights from alternative data for finance. So yeah, the whole trend is for a managed service which performs the data extraction and then actually produces some meaningful kind of output and insight from it. And yeah, so we've got data extraction, end-to-end web data extraction. Let's learn. Oh, here we go. Find out why if they changed their name. We founded Scrapinghub 10 years ago and to provide customers with a simple way, white paper, to access web data. We're taking this to the next level with a release of Zyte automatic extraction and rebranding to reflect our evolution. What is changing? So I think this is the kind of the key bit here. As the name suggests, we're replacing much of the time-consuming and mundane aspects with automation based on our own patented machine learning algorithms. So as time goes by, I think we're going to see the trend where Scrapy as a spider for maybe scraping publicly available information will still have a place, but data services, automatic extraction, data types, pricing. Let's have a look at pricing. And wow, smart pricing for the enterprises. And as is the trend with everything, big companies are hoovering up all the money, all the business, and what's going to be left for everybody else is going to be relatively slim pickings. I'm not trying to put a downer on web scraping, definitely not, because apart from anything, it's a valuable skill to have and learn, as it will give you skills that you can use to ease yourself into the world of commercial coding. And obviously in the old days you could have introduced yourself via website design, writing small applications for a business or the business that you work for. But as time's gone by, then everything's become template driven, framework driven, and here we can even see compliance as well, GDPR, legal and GDPR compliance review. So it's basically us covering for people who are doing web scraping and big companies who don't want to even go close to what they think could be a grey area. 24/5 dedicated support. Okay, Monday to Friday. Nobody's doing anything on a Saturday or a Sunday. Proven QA methodology, data subscription, and again, subscription. This for a business to get customers to subscribe is obviously the perfect business model. You've got guaranteed income. Make your project a success for every extraction challenge at any scale. So data types, news and article. So yeah, let's just have a look and have a think about which ones of these have we all scraped. So news and article. I've done news scraping over the Christmas period just as an experiment. So yeah, news and article, and that obviously would then link in with people who want to do sentiment analysis, or archival. You could archive, and then that's where you would need to consider using a database and do sort of trend monitoring, trend monitoring and sentiment analysis. Price tracking I'll get onto next. So products and reviews, you can do price tracking with products. Again, that might be another service which they might want to offer. Or I think if you're a freelancer or if you're learning about web scraping, then you need to keep your eye on the bigger picture. And the bigger picture here is what categories are the ones to be searching out work for currently, and what ones could be the ones which provide you with a job, an income, a career in the future. So we're still looking at extraction here. So in a minute we'll consider the next step on, which is data science and who uses the data and why. So products and reviews. Again, I did the Amazon price tracking series, if you want to look at those, late 2020. Reviews is not something I've really concentrated on very much, but again, NLP, natural language processing, sentiment analysis. So yeah, news, product reviews, real estate. Now this is the one that I've probably done most of, and if you've ever watched a channel such as Codemaker King, real estate is kind of has been the bread and butter of many of us for web scraping. And I would say that real estate at the moment is probably still quite, I would say it's still quite a good source of work. However, more and more sites are becoming very protective of their data, and some are actually selling an API to allow you access to their site, provided you are in the trade, shall we say. So if you are a real estate or an estate agent and you subscribe to a certain online real estate website, then they provide you with the API and you pay them for the API, and you have access to all the data and all of the, what do they call it? Business insights or whatever they call it. So yeah, real estate is still okay. I mean, Craigslist, you might have seen my scraper on that with Scrapy. For instance, even eBay do real estate and you can scrape that still. Yeah, there's certain European ones that are very, you would have seen the one that I did again around about November, December, and there was a limit of 5 requests, only 5 for that website. So again, you're then getting into the worlds of paid proxy, rotating VPNs, and actually a paid proxy was not any benefit. In the end, I had a rotating VPN that changed every 5 requests, which was incredibly slow. And where time equals money, then obviously that is when, not as a coder, but actually as a business person, you would then want to consider whether you actually want to pay a coder to do it the long-winded way or to subscribe to a service like this. So if the site is proving, not just anti-capture, there could be geographic restrictions via which IP you're coming from. Requests could be limited with rate limits, and if anybody knows anything about networking, then firewalls and application delivery controllers can rate limit requests from a given IP. So really you need to be coming from multiple different IP addresses, and you're not always going to be guaranteed that even with a proxy. So yeah, real estate. Next, organization, product reviews. Oh, product and reviews, product reviews. Organization, I don't really know what that means. Let's skip that. I don't think it's worth spending time on. Restaurant, you kind of, yeah, Yelp, Yellow Pages and so on. Music, job. Music, I don't really know why you would want to scrape anything. I mean, IMDb is the classic beginners kind of web scraping. That's the movie database. Jobs, okay, jobs and flights. These two, you kind of need to use Selenium for these two, or partly because most job and flight sites use quite heavy with JavaScript, and if you want to scrape those, then you'll probably have to get through some logins, some accept cookies messages, blah blah blah, and then really you can combine Selenium with Scrapy, and that's fine also. But you'll find that many CV recruitment websites are probably the worst for scraping and collecting details of your CV online. And you've only got to put your CV online with one company, and then you'll get 20 phone calls from other companies who've all magically got your details from somewhere. So yeah, they're actually, CVs and job sites are actually probably the best and the worst for web scraping. Flights, again, Selenium and potentially a paid data extraction service. Movies, that's kind of for leisure, I would imagine. Vehicles, I don't really know when you would use web scraping on vehicles, unless it's some sort of insurance or government type database. But again, you're on kind of dodgy territory there potentially. Oh, other than if you're searching for vehicles to buy, Auto Trader or eBay, etc. So yeah, yeah, Scrapy's a good one for that. Medical drug, I can't comment on that, so I won't. And here we go, use cases, price intelligence. So yeah, price intelligence would obviously involve price tracking, which, as I've already stated, I've done with MySQL and in trend monitoring of prices with Amazon, and then matplotlib to produce a bar graph of the price changes over time. And I did that before Black Friday just to see if the prices were artificially hiked before Black Friday, and there seemed to be no real pattern. Some went down before, some went up. I think the prices, particularly on Amazon, are often just down to the vendor. Building a product, recruitment, yeah, we've talked about recruitment, Scrapy versus Selenium. Market research, business automation. Okay, so business automation, let's just have a little chat about business automation. And again, that's something where you might want to use, you might want to do a project where you can use Selenium, Scrapy, Beautiful Soup, and also extract information from, often business information that you need could well be historical or downloads of old reports or various things, and that will inevitably lead you to data extraction from a PDF. And then once you're extracting from a PDF, then you really need to be looking at pandas to reformat the data, and looping through a table of data, a large table of data using a for loop is pretty slow in Python comparatively, whereas pandas is a two-dimensional array. Pandas built on top of NumPy, so 2D array is much faster to search and manipulate the data. Alternative data for finance, I can't really comment on that. If you're looking at stocks and shares, a lot of that price information is difficult to get hold of. I think Yahoo is usually the site that people end up resorting to get stock price information from. And with stocks and shares, often if you are just Joe Public, you get 15 minutes delayed stock prices. So whilst it's okay for proof of concept, it's not really going to be any good if you're a hedge fund manager or doing, what do they call it, high frequency trading. And brand monitoring, I've seen some seminars on YouTube about that, and it's companies who monitor their competitors and even look at the stock levels of their competitors' raincoats or hoodies, and they look at the colors that are selling best, and then based on what color hoodie a company is selling, then they will use that to plan what color clothing they're going to use next season. So yeah, brand monitoring, looking at your rivals, seeing what colors, what sizes, what models, you know, when I say what model, what car, hatchback, saloon, SUV, so on. So yeah, let's just round up this, and hopefully I've just given you some kind of, again, not really anything new, but hopefully maybe it's just made you consider what the future of web scraping is for your particular niche, whether you actually are a coder or whether you're watching this because you're planning on asking somebody to do some web scraping, and whether you think, do I choose a freelance coder or do I go to a large company such as Scrapinghub? Obviously, it all depends on your budget and which data extraction solution is right for me. It's pretty much the question that many people will be asking. And if we click on this, obviously, we've got the answer for every web scraping requirement. Well, if you believe Zyte, then you go to them for everything. Zyte Automatic Extraction API, also available, is a great do-it-yourself option for getting news or product data. Or if you want us to manage getting data for you as a subscription service or a custom project, then our data services solution could be right for you. Web scraping tool to suit every need. Yeah, I just really want to round off this little kind of video by saying data extraction is obviously the first hurdle, and it's not always easy, and you need to consider which niche you are trying to extract your data from. Based upon the niche could affect what software you use, what service you use, whether you pay for a coder, a freelancer, or whether you pay a company like Zyte, formerly Scrapinghub, to do it for you. So what's your data type? And then how often do you want the data? Is it a one-off, or are you looking at trends or price intelligence, market research, brand monitoring? So that implies you're doing it over a period of time. Now, if you're doing that, then you don't just want to see CSV really. You want, you need a database, and then you can perform queries on that database over a period of time. So data extraction, then so it's what are you trying to extract and how often? And then the third thing, really, just to sum up, is what are you going to do with that data? How are you going to extract some kind of useful insight out of that? And that's where it boils down to visualization, data visualization, and also are you trying to make predictions using existing data? So then you may want to consider machine learning, for instance, on house price data. Do you want to get into linear regression models using Python, or I think R is the other one? So once you've got the data, what do you do with it? Are you making predictions with the data? That would typically be the case. You'd be looking forward, trying to predict the future. But then it's almost a separate field, and if you really want to pursue that, then you want somebody, for instance, you want a freelancer who can do data extraction, so web scraping with Scrapy or Selenium. You need somebody who can code with a database, so SQL, so Python, SQL, and then for the insight, then you need to be looking at potentially machine learning, or just pandas and NumPy and matplotlib as well. So if you want to just produce a graph of historical data without necessarily making any predictions into the future, then yeah, matplotlib, plotly, and so on. So yeah, if you're a web scraping freelancer, then just think about these different categories, the different niches, which ones are going to be swallowed up by the larger companies. How do you want your career to develop? Bear in mind, 5 years is a very long time. 10 years is way too long to even predict. So 10 years ago, everything was kind of Wi-Fi and VoIP were the latest buzzwords, and there was kind of a gold rush to be involved in computer networks. Whereas now, if you've been working in networks, unless you're working in a data center in London, the chances are that your data center in Bristol or Oxford or wherever, it's probably being swallowed up and closed and decommissioned and moved to London, and or even just migrated, because obviously networks only really exist for the benefit of servers, and servers tend to be moving to the cloud, such as Azure or AWS. So Azure, AWS, Zyte, Scrapinghub, big companies. Now I'm going to wind it up here, but hopefully I've just kind of given you some food for thought about Scrapy, Scrapinghub, Zyte, data extraction, what niche you want to consider. Do you actually want to pursue web scraping as such as a career? I would suggest you use it as a stepping stone to developing your skills, and from that you can then use it as kind of a springboard to becoming more experienced and gaining expertise in data science, databases, data visualization, machine learning. So treat web scraping as a stepping stone and not as a a future career path. As you can see, if you don't heed what I've just said, then there is a chance that in a few years' time they'll be on Scrapy 2.9 and you will still be getting a tutorial for quotes2scrape.com, and you may well be able to scrape Wikipedia or some other smaller sites. But as a career, yeah, have a look at the niches for sure, but long term, data extraction needs to be a stepping stone to either data visualization, machine learning, or databases. So whether it's Azure, AWS, or just learn SQL full stop. SQL, pandas, and matplotlib. At least have some of those things up your sleeve and learn them. I hope this has been interesting. It's been a bit of a ramble. There are people out there who do tutorials better than I do, and this you're probably already aware, but I just thought sometimes it's good just to kind of pause and reflect upon trends and hear those thoughts from somebody who's not actually trying to sell you a service. Okay, I've got my own website, and there's no hard sell going on there, is there really? You can see the URL, but I'm not really pushing anything on you. So yeah, until next time, stay safe and subscribe, or whatever it is. Subscribe, thumbs up. Till the next one.